Hello and welcome back to Survive the Unexpected with your host Frank Pacino. And we are back with another top 20 list. I have Amanda Bryant, James Hansen, Michael Schaefer, and Hart the Tabulator. Today we're going to be talking about top 20 Survivor casts. So I'll go toss it to Hart and he'll explain exactly what we did and we'll go from there.
All right. So, everybody submitted a list of their top 20 favorite cast to me, similar to what we've done with our previous podcast with our top 20 list. So, they have all been tabulated. I will go over what everybody's put where everybody put their seasons that they had on there, and we'll get a definitive list on what our favorite casts are. Mammers, this was your idea. Why did you want to do best cast?
Wait, do we do best cast or favorite cast? Because that's way different. I did best cast. That's what I
That's what we
did.
did.
That's what I
Okay,
did.
just to be
That's what I
sure,
did.
because the best casts are not my favorite. Because
I agree with you, Amanda.
that's
I did best, and it would have been a slightly different, not totally, but I think it's best.
oh, mine would have been way different if we would have done favorite versus best.
But anywho, Mammers, why did you want to do this idea?
Huh?
Why did you want to do this idea?
I just thought it was something different. It wasn't something that's like really calculated on strategy. It's just pure, pure bias almost in a way. And we can kind of explain maybe what kind of players we like, what type of cast we like, and how that resonates to the story of this, of the game, or if it doesn't at all. So there might be some players we feel like we're really, really good, but we're on a bad season, or maybe a season that was deemed really, really good, but the players are, if you pull them out individually, are kind of subpar. So I don't know. I thought it'd be a fun topic. It's something a little bit different than what we've been doing. We've been doing, very much like top of the line, strategic decision type of list. I feel like this one's just a little bit more fun.
All right. So we're going to start going over with the honorable mentions. I will say, though, that out of 46 seasons, these four had 26 total seasons, like within the four of them. And 15 of these seasons, they all four had on their list.
Oh, wow. That's the best one so far, right, Hart?
That's the best so far, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll start going over the honorable mentions. So coming in at 26th place, James had this at 19. It's Palau. James, why should Palau be one of the best on the best cast list?
I'm kind of surprised I was the only one that had it. I was very close to leaving this off. Like, I would say my 21. I made a whole 46 list. Like, so I had a 21 to 24 that was very close to being on, and like the last few to make it, like just made it. But I felt like Palau had to be included because I feel like Oolong, while they were like getting pagonged and a lot of them were like kind of forgettable aside from Bobby John and Stephanie, I feel like at the merge at least we had a good mix of characters, and like most of the power players from Karora were there. Like you had Tom at the merge, you had Tom and you had Ian and you had Jen and you had Greg, and then you had Katie, who wasn't a great player, but she was a good, interesting enough character. And then you had Colby, who was kind of like the opposition of that. I would say like Janu and I think Karen were the real only like total duds to make the merge that season. So yeah, I remember being like a fourth grader watching Palau back in the day and being like, this is a pretty interesting group of people. At least what happens is kind of boring, but I think that the season isn't great, but it's not because of the cast. So I think the cast for that was worthy of making this list.
You guys think that we like Stephanie and Bobby John as much as we do because they returned, or do you think that they would have been just as forgettable if they wouldn't have?
I don't like Bobby John.
No, I think they're more.
Oh.
I think they're more memorable for their first games, and I think it's more just because their tribe lost pretty much everything, and they were able to outlast seven, 8 other people, and kind of like start playing a post-merge game like within the pre-merge. So I think that's what we remember them for more than anything, rather than their second games. But I feel like that's the main reason.
The least talked about returners of all time.
Because he sucks.
He's not very
Also,
good. Yeah.
Guatemala and
He's
Palau
not
are
very-
like two forgotten seasons, and if those are the two
Yeah.
seasons he played, no one's really gonna care.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our number 25 ranked Mammers had this one at 19. Let's go to the new era, Survivor 44.
Okay, listen. So I knew that I was going to be stop. I knew that I was going to be one of the only ones that had a new era season on here. Okay, but if you look at the cast of Survivor 44, if you pull them all out individually, they were pretty decent, and then meshed well as a cast. I think so. This, I know Carolyn was annoying, but she still was a character. You had a lot of other good characters that America recepted to well on that season. Like Yam Yam, like Danny.
I think it's a 3-person
Yeah.
cast, and then the rest is it. The rest
No,
are
I disagree. I think
You have a whole tribe where you don't know who they are.
You do.
No,
You
you
do.
don't.
The orange tri-
Especially more compared to other tribes that still have that 3 tribe story.
the Orange Tribe. You
Yeah,
can't
you
even-
could hardly. They were so
names.
forgettable.
I'm telling you
Yeah.
guys, look at that cast picture as a whole. Pull up Survivor 44 right now.
Okay, so I did a whole 46. I did it like I ranked all of them, not just the top 20, and I had it at 33 out of 46.
Oh my gosh. I
That's
can't
And I only had 2 of
believe
the new era seasons lower than it, and I think this season's better than some of the ones that I had
I
above
think
it.
Survivor
Some of the new
44
era ones I had
deserves to
above it.
be.
I think
But I think the cast
Th-
is
this
very
might be a
Not
hot.
even close.
This might be a hot take, but I prefer 41 cast over 44s.
No,
Like to me,
40
this would be the weakest cast of the new era.
44 is
41's
fair.
cast definitely gets underrated, but I think 44 had the best cast out of the 40s, other than Winners of War, obviously.
I would say 44
You're
and
The only
absolutely
cast
insane.
I think rivals that is Survivor 46.
well, I say 44 and 43 were kind of like carried by a couple people, and I think that lowers them for me. So I think 44 fit like the 43 range in terms of.
You have to think of the cast as a whole, and the cast as a whole, 44 is very below average.
Below average. I think
get-
you have Danny, you have Franny, and you have Matt, who are known for the stuff outside the show more than they are in the show.
See,
And
but I
then-
think they were really well recepted and had decent stories in the show as well.
They,
And
the
I think
Tika 3
final-
were receptive. The rest of the cast weren't, in my opinion.
Not even the whole Tika 3.
Not even just Jim and Carson.
Yep.
All right. But coming in at number 24, James, you have this at 18. Survivor Africa. Why should this be on the top 20?
I almost put this on my list.
Okay, I thought like if I left this off, I would get crap, and I was like thinking of. We'll get to I get maybe the other ones later, but I mean yeah, I'm not the biggest Lex fan at all, but like I thought top to bottom like from the post merge on like this cast really delivered, and I think this is like true to the other early seasons. I think like each player was kind of unique in and of their own way, like and I mean yeah.
I considered it, but to me, it's similar to 44. Not quite as strong, but it's like Lex, Tom, and Ethan, and
Their
then
lines, yeah.
there's a lot of
really
stuff
enjoyed-
around them.
I really enjoyed T-Bird and Kim as well. So that's what put it on for me. I thought the 5 of them who all made it, I think they were 5 of the last 6 people left in the game, were very strong. So I was like,
Yeah.
I have to put this
I
on
don't
here.
think it's a terrible take, but to me,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of fluff on there. That's why I left
Yeah,
it
that's-
off my
that's
top
fair.
20 list.
Yeah, like this one, I was debating between this one and what I ended up putting at 20.
Yeah, I mean, it was close to. I would consider it
was
too.
close.
So it's not. I just, to me, when I looked at it, I was like, there was too much fluff for me. Where I looked, I was like, I don't remember this person. I don't remember this. I was like, if I have to really think about it that hard, it shouldn't be on this list.
Yeah.
All right. Well, coming at number 23, Frank, you had this at 18. It's Survivor 45.
I don't want to get shit at all for putting a new era season on my list.
No,
Frank,
I didn't give you shit for a new era. I gave you shit for 44.
I think this as a whole is a little bit better casting than
Yeah.
than
I-
44.
A little. I still wouldn't have put it on the list.
So
I think the main thing that keeps it off for me is that the people that went in the pre-merge were
Awful.
so bad, and there was still a couple of them that made it far that were like
That
didn't do
merge
it
is
for
so
me. That didn't do it for
well,
me.
like
so
I liked Drew. I liked Austin. I liked a lot of the people that made it
yeah,
to the merge. So I
You like
personally
Jake
liked
too,
it.
right, Frank?
So Jake, listen. There's a lot of Jake fans out there. I am not one of them,
I am.
but
Hart's one of them.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not.
I consider I considered like their their status when making my list. And a lot of people like Jake, so that helped boost the cast, in my opinion.
Caleb and Emily were good casting.
Yes.
Yeah,
Caleb,
Caleb was. Emily
Yeah,
wasn't.
Caleb, Emily. There's a lot of people when you consider, like, okay,
Kelly,
yeah, this wasn't a
Kelly
bad.
was good casting.
Kelly
Yes.
was good casting.
So,
Even Kendra was all right. Like she wasn't terrible.
So like I don't like I have it at 18. I don't have it super high, but I think when you look at once you take out the 4 or so, the rest are okay to good to great. Then sometimes I think D is really great.
I would have to look.
I love Emily, so Caleb was really good. So
That's it.
Okay, so I had it 29.
That's
out
more,
of
more than
42.
44, Amanda.
So I had it closer to the list. I had it closer to the list than I did for 44. I had it 29.
Katora, I really could care less though. I really didn't like Katora. But yeah. I mean, listen, I thought I was gonna get crap for it. I don't care. I quite enjoyed the cast. The season as a whole, it's meh. It's all right. It's but like if we're not ranking seasons, we're ranking the cast. So
yeah, that's fair.
All right. Well, Frank, you might get some hell again for this one. Coming in at 22, you had this number 15, Frank. But nobody else had any love for San Juan del Sur.
No.
There's a lot of duds on that cast. For me.
Top heavy, and
I love that season, but no.
Listen, it's my first season I watched. Okay, it holds a special place in my heart. I don't care.
If you want to, the one thing, Grace, for this is that I think that the people that go in the pre-merge are pretty interesting, and especially, I mean, you have one that turns into a star the next 2 times she played, so that does factor into it does factor into the list for me, how the people did the other times, because they still were a part of the cast, that they're still the same person. So,
because they're
see, I didn't factor. I factored if they played beforehand going into that season. I factored it in. If they had played afterwards, I didn't factor that in.
That's fair. I totally get that. Yeah,
it's just listen. I have a special place for their heart for this season. It's the first season I really watched. Listen, you watch somebody just throw a challenge and be booted. That's memorable to me. That's something that I can't ever forget. I don't know. I just have a special place in my heart. I don't care.
God, I'm
really looking at this cast, and I don't even know half these people.
I think Wes Nail and Keith Nail alone almost put this on the list for me. I have that pair, the chicken nugget eating contest.
Nugget contest.
I think Wes Nail is one of the more underrated characters. I enjoy him.
He's totally outshined him.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Wes though, but the problem was some of the the Missy and Baylor pair, and then and then it was Reed and Josh, and I liked Josh a lot, and Reed was the one who ends up making it further,
because Josh was better though.
That's and then John and Jacqueline were kind of annoying.
I hated John Rocker.
Yeah, I thought
John Rocker was awful.
I really like John and Jacqueline only for the fact that I like seeing the big villain be taken off their pedestal, and that's what we got. I mean, so having a villain John Rocker was a terrible villain. That's the different villain. But John and Jacqueline were the villains of the season by just because they were so cocky and arrogant and stuff like that. So
they weren't bad people; they were just bad. The way they were playing was arrogant.
Correct. And so I consider that having different variety to my cast. I like that. We don't want the same 4 or 5 people. Some the recruits that obviously will not be on this list. If you are, I just don't know what to do with you.
So I had this at 24, so it was fairly close for me.
You guys probably think I'm crazy, but I like Baylor and Missy so much.
I cannot stand them. Can't stand them.
I love them. I liked Reed. I hated
and Natalie Anderson is my favorite female winner, so that boosted up a ton for me.
I think Josh is way better than Reed.
Way better.
I need to rewatch this season. I barely remember it.
Well, we're almost to our top 20, but coming in at 21, This season had 2 people put it in the top 20, but it just missed the list. Michael, you had this at 18, and James had this at 17. It's the OG. It's Borneo. Just missing the list.
I'm shocked we all. I'm shocked we all didn't have this on there. Like I thought this was like.
I thought this was a lock to make it.
It was definitely on my list. I took it off because like I think the season's a lot better than a lot of people give it credit for. For the mess it is. It was a mess. It's such a fun mess. But there's a lot of idiots on that cat.
But that makes the cat like all right. So for me, it's honestly not very rewatchable this season because it's not what I'm looking for necessarily in Survivor. But like I said, this kind of in the realm of Africa. I feel like everyone in this era of casting was unique in their own way, and that deserved to have it there. And like, I mean, we had out of the people who made the merge, like they were just totally different people. Like you had Greg, Jenna, Jervis, you had Dr. Sean, you had Sue, you had Rudy, you had Kelly, you had Rich, like all just totally different people. Like, and in the way that they were able to interact and mesh with each other, like the first time this game happened, I think that CBS kind of nailed it with that group. Like they could have got a way less like interesting group.
They had a lot of good personalities.
I mean, people were celebrities back then. Like they were like household names. Everybody knew who they were. Like the status and fame afterward is something.
Yeah, like in like Colleen was in like movies and stuff, and then like we saw Elizabeth after the second. I know it's the second season, but with Elizabeth like and everything. So it's like I mean, these people were very very like known because the show was insanely popular then, and I think like it is a testament to how well they casted this first season. So I think it's very much worthy of being on this list.
I wonder how much Chase Rice is worth compared to her. I bet it's not even close.
Compared to who? Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth's worth way more.
Oh, I know. She's worth way more. That's what I'm saying. But I think it'd be interesting to look at their net worths compared to each other.
Listen. It's just like there was incest involved. Hinted at in the season. So it takes it a little bit down for that.
Not in this season. It was talked about.
It was alluded to. Okay.
It was alluded to.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, are we still at Borneo? Are we still talking about Borneo?
Yeah. You don't remember?
What? No.
Greg.
Said, you seem like you're a little close with your sister. He's like, maybe I am. And like he like hinted at it. Like he talked to like he didn't flat out say I'm screwing my sister, but he didn't say he wasn't.
All right, move on.
All right. Well, before we get to the top 20, though, like I said, the tabulator doesn't give his opinions here, but I always do make a tabulator's MIA award. Yeah. So I'm
never thinking this man for Brand Steel ever again.
So I make my own list. It's not tabulated in, but I like to just compare it with what these 4 do. And I had a season that if my list was tabulated, it would have solely made the list because of how high I had it. I had it at number 6. And this gets my MIA award because I'm sorry, but the cast of Marquesas is amazing. And I love this cast so much. And it is getting my MIA award. I'm sorry. Boston Rob is incredible. The fact that Sean Rector has not been back at all is a crime. Heavy. Like, it's very, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I like Hunter Ellis, too. I think Hunter's great. I think Sarah with the Cleopatra thing is great. A lot of people are high on Gina. I'm kind of on her, but a lot of people are high on Gina. I think Gabe was stupid, but a character. Yeah. So the John Carroll, incredible. I mean, who doesn't love the general? I mean, I'm just thinking. But Haskell, Kathy, Nalia. I do think Missepia should have been on Winners at War. Like, I love this cast so much, and you guys can tear me apart.
All right, I'll say standouts are Sean, Kathy, Rob. Even though he didn't get as far as he could have, he's still a standout, I think. And then I would say like John Carroll, even though he didn't get as far. And then like to me, there's a bunch of like decent to good personalities for the most part, but like a lot of them, even those people are like kind of like forgettable to me. And then like you have a final four of Pascal, Nalia, Kathy, and Vesepia, and like Kathy's really the only like totally like memorable person out of that group. So like it was close to my list. I had it at number 25. Like I think it's a decent cast. It's a pretty good cast, but six is kind
It
of
was a couple slots away from being on my list, but again, like I think when somebody came with Sam Mandel Sir, it's very top heavy. You have a lot of really strong people on that cast, but after that, it's a bunch of duds. At least to me, it is. And to me, like I need to have at least like half the cast being strong people if I want to.
You don't like Gabriel Cade? You don't love Gabriel Cade?
No, I'm not a fan.
I like Gabriel's
Peter.
character, not the player.
Or Peter?
No. Or the general.
Oh, the general.
We're going with the general.
Or Sarah, Boston Rob's OG showmance?
I wasn't even that big of a fan of Boston Rob this season.
Oof.
The general was, I mean, I think he should be considered for season 50. I'm not sure about that.
We love the general.
This is a general friendly podcast.
My
But even Zoe, once the Road to 4 is out of power, she literally goes up to Tammy, one of her closest odds, and says, "I don't really like you that much, Tammy." I'm just like, these characters are so great.
Tammy goes, "Zoe, I'm voting for you because, I just don't really like you."
They're such good characters. This is why it's so high for me. Like, is it the best season? No, but ranking casting wise, I freaking love this season. Like, it was number 6 for me. I'm that high on this cast.
That's wild to me.
That's crazy. Like I said, it's a pretty good cast, I think. But.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I'm just because my brother came home, but also the Marquesas cast is boring. That is all.
Oh, Mammers, we'll fight later.
Amanda really doesn't like Marquesas that much.
No,
I think it's solid.
It's solid.
It is solid.
News fest.
Well, I didn't.
Amanda hates Good Survivor. That's all. We know that.
Y'all probably thought it would have been Vanuatu with me, but no, there was too many duds on that cast to get too high for me. It was 19 for me, but still.
I thought Amanda would have Vanuatu in the top 5.
So I guess Vanuatu did not make the list. Spoiler.
Vanuatu did not make the list. No, I think it was kind of, you guys could figure that out by now. But all
good,
right,
because the cast is horrible.
Talk about a top heavy cast.
That is a top heavy season 2. You gotta get at that. But all right, well, let's go into our top 20. So coming in at number 20, James, you had this at number 20, and Mammers, you had this at 13. Had some icons like Ozzy and Yul and Parvati. It's Survivor Cook Island, and let's not forget Becky and Summer.
Okay.
And don't forget Bradley Penner.
All right, let's get to it.
No.
All right, I don't have.
Billy Stevens.
I can't talk about this for.
Billy Garcia.
I can't talk about this for too long, but like it had to just make my list as number 20 because like this cast is the definition of top heavy, but like the top is like iconic and it was all their first times. Like so we had Parvati, Ozzy, Yul, Penner, Candace, first time, all 5 of them. Like I had to include it for that reason. But there's a lot of forgettable players in this cast.
Yeah.
But like the top heavy people were too good for me to leave it off entirely. That's all.
So hold on, Frank. I want to get the first word in. This cast is 3 people. It's Ozzy, it's Yul, it's Penner. That's it.
No, I just
everybody else forgettable, boring, terrible. No, thank you. This was the very bottom of my list.
And I don't like this season that much, but like it just had to make it because, like I said, there's so many people that for their first time playing were such great like Survivor legends that like it makes the top heaviness worth it and worthy of being on it.
And again, like some of these people are better the second or third time they play, but this time, like Parvati was nothing, Candace was nothing.
I thought Nate was memorable. I thought
Candace is always nothing, but that's why she's so
I'm
great.
going through the whole cast right now. Billy, Cowboy, Brad, Nate, Candace, Jonathan, Parvati, Adam, Sandra, Becky, Ozzy, Yul are all memorable.
Listen.
That's like less than half the cast.
I'm not saying they're all great, but I'm saying that they're all memorable.
You just didn't name half the cast, though. I will.
I know this, but there's a lot of other casts that I don't remember hardly anybody.
Listen to this. Okay, I'm not the biggest Ozzy fan. I'm not the biggest Penner fan. Like Penner, I mean, you guys are all high on him, but like to me, he's just boring.
He
He's
was such
boring.
good
He's
TV
annoying.
this season.
Oh,
I want to
He's
hear
great
the
TV.
I just can't like. This might be his best, maybe his best. Well,
It's not his best
game
game,
until
but
No, it's
it's
not.
One of the
until
best
he
storytellers
fucking
boring.
jumped over. But he just, I don't know. He's just a for me. Just what
I don't get it. I think this season's great. I think the characters really shine. And the ones that are top heavy have great story in this season. I think this season
I agree.
did. I think that
But
it's
the
got
bad is
a lot-
so bad.
for them to change the way the idol is even like played and everything, and that could have really ruined the season, and it didn't. The way that they cast it,
It did.
by
It did.
separating
It
by
did.
race,
It
The
did
winner
ruin the
got a
season.
free ride to the end because of it.
It crowned the winner. That's how.
All
That's
right,
how
this
the
is
winner
one of
was
my favorite
crowned.
seasons. Don't let me talk about it.
The thing that almost left this off for me was just that like most of the people besides Billy and Cowboy that go in the pre-merge are pretty freaking forgettable, and like, and then you throw that in with like Nate and Adam and Becky and Sundra, and like you don't really remember much of what they did out there either. So like it is extremely top heavy, but the top is very good. So like that alone.
All right. Well, let's go to our number 19. Michael, you had this at 17. Mammers had it at 15. And Frank had it at 20. Stuck true to his name, had some icons like Haley Ford, Sierra Dawn Thomas, and Sari Fields. It's Survivor Game Changers.
Oh, this shouldn't have been on the list at all.
Well, listen. The season itself was awful. The cast was mostly pretty good going in.
Yes.
I mean, it's called Game Changers. Like half of them were nobodies the first time.
You still had Tony, you still had Sandra, you still had JT, you had Ozzy, Malcolm. You had a pretty solid cast overall.
I think this cast is a great like potpourri cast.
Yeah.
You mean Tony and Sandra and JT were barely on the season?
But we're not comparing them how long they last on the season. We're just comparing the
No, we're
cast.
talking about the cast as a whole. The cast as a whole of the season was great. The season itself, not so much.
I mean, because even Aubrey, you had you had some other players in there.
I personally don't think this season is that bad, but
I don't think it's
bad.
I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's
not.
amazing.
Listen, there's a lot of fuckery when it comes to production, but the characters make a fun, entertaining story.
You got it right there. There's a lot of fuckery production.
Interrupting me. Stop interrupting me.
You tell them.
God, all of you do it terribly. So, the season itself has good characters. They interact well with each other. They make a good, funny story that's entertaining to watch. I'm not saying there's great gameplay. I'm not saying, there's top tier moves or strategy. But for a potpourri cast, it could have been a lot worse, like Haramoan. And it wasn't. It was good. And people had good stories, funny moments. The Sari moment obviously is iconic. There's other iconic moments in this we won't need to talk about. But it's just, I think the characters themselves and their performance in this season was good, entertainment wise.
All right, so this is my thing. Like so this season has what most of these seasons don't have going for it. They could have taken anybody who had played the game before. Like there was no rules to the casting. It was just returning players. And they heavily butchered it because they took some absolute legends and threw them around people who people did not think were even worthy of being asked back a second time. And when that mixes together, the people who are really good are like screwed from the get-go, and it makes the season a lot worse. And I know we're looking at the cast as a whole, but I think they with the pool they had to choose from, I think they've really butchered their casting.
And I mean, it doesn't change the fact, but I'm pretty sure Haley only got on the cast because Natalie Anderson got hurt.
That was Sierra.
That was Sierra? Okay, that was Sierra. Okay. I remember one of them.
Pregnant, wasn't she?
No, she hurt
her butt. Something happened. She got hurt.
Okay.
I think that got her off another show, I think.
Okay. She got hurt. She got taken off the show because of it. That's why there was unbalanced winners. There were supposed to be 2 and 2, 2 female winners and 2 male winners.
Right.
That's why there was only 3. I as a cast, I think it's a solid cast. Like you got some solid players. Now, of course, you have Haley there, and Caleb. But like, okay, Debbie. But Debbie is
cast.
entertaining though. So
So and another issue is like it was so close to second chances too that like a lot of their pool were from people who just missed the cut for second chances, like Brad Culpepper and
Yeah.
stuff. So it was basically like they uh they almost casted a lot of these people that were more like fit for like a second chance this season, and that was more of my issue with it. When you surround like the cast is called game changers, and like a lot of them were not game changers, and to me that just like kind of soured me on it on the casting a little
I
bit.
wonder if the show decided the theme first or the cast first, because I'm sure they wanted to have a returning season. I'm sure they wanted game changers, but the people that they wanted couldn't do it or didn't want to do it or couldn't, whatever the circumstance was. So then they had the leftovers, and then what do you call it? You can't really.
Yeah, that could have been what happened as well. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pitch in here, though, and I will say, I heard very early on because they had a list of like 40 contenders for this season.
Yep, I saw that list.
And apparently it was supposed to be an 18-person cast, but one try was supposed to be all winners. I'm not sure what happened from there, but I think that's why the name Game Changers came around. And they were labeled something different.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bet is the cast they wanted. A bunch of people said no.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna guess, and they already had the names, so they were like,
Yeah.
"Man, we can't change anything. It's just the name."
Well, they could have.
Again, for people bailing out and not their first choice is saying yes. I mean, think about casting for orgs. When all your star players say no and you got to go to plan B, it's still a decent season, and they all interacted pretty well with each other, game wise, for your second chance picks.
Yeah, I'm not gonna destroy y'all for having it on there. I just think like with what it was that they totally butchered it by putting like just too many really good people around, too many people that like probably shouldn't have even been asked back.
Right.
And that was my issue with it, and that's why I left it on.
That's fair, but I also think that's why it's like kind of low on all of our lists.
yeah,
Yeah. It's not like you guys had it.
yeah.
You leaving home?
And I do think the winners that were supposed to be on there, it was the four with Natalie, and then Earl and Sophie, I believe. I believe that was supposed to be the 6-person tribe.
That
I
would've
don't
been
know
a
if that's
good
still out
tribe.
there, but I believe that's what it was.
Awesome tribe.
But all right, well, going into number 18, Mammers had this at 17, and Michael had this at 11. Now, if you want to give Michael hate for having it so high, please don't do it verbally. Please pull out your imaginary Blackberries and text Michael the hate, because it's Panama.
It's Panama.
So good.
So I sent McKenna my list, and I showed it to her, and I said, "Do you think there's a season that I'm obviously forgetting that I'm just not thinking of right now?" And this was the season that she was like, "I'm surprised you don't have Panama on there." And I was like, "Oh, you're right though. Great cast."
That whole Kasaya tribe
Yeah, wacky group.
itself got this on the list.
I think it was close. Oh no, I had it at 27, so I guess it wasn't insanely close. Like, I don't know. There was just a lot that I forget about this season. I guess so. Maybe that's what left it off for me. But like, yeah, I just remember it being a wacky group of people, and like Amanda kind of said about the last season of Game Changers. Like, I really enjoyed seeing the people interact out there. Like, it was, yeah.
Do you guys remember when Shane wanted Suri to look at his junk and make sure?
Oh my god.
And then Suri's laughing and she's trying to tell the story.
My favorite thing was when they did in this season they did like the touchy subjects type of challenge, and like Courtney got all like the bad ones, and like she literally was like sitting there like, why does everybody hate me? Like, and that might have been when Shane said the thing about killing in the shitty apartment or something.
Shitty apartment. It was gold, TV gold. It's really a shame. Not only was he not on Second Chances, but he really should have been on Heroes versus Villains.
I think he was supposed to be on Heroes versus Villains and then got bumped for Russell.
Ah, that makes sense.
Which I understand.
Yeah,
Yes,
of course.
of course.
Panama is fine. I don't know. I've never been a high person on Panama. So I think the cast is okay. I mean, I don't think it's terrible, but it's
I
just
think Aris is very.
this doesn't do it for me. Aris is so dull, and there's only so much screaming and yelling I can tolerate sometimes. And felt like
Yeah, I
a
think
lot of this cast.
it's kind of like there are some wacky or like goofier, like quirky people that you remember, like the astronaut Dan, and then like
Yeah.
I think his name is like Bobby, and then like you have
Bob
like
Bug.
you have Courtney. But like for the most part, I feel like it was a little top. It was kind of carried by Terry and Suri and Shane, and even Aris was kind of like more of a boring winner to some extent. So
Yeah.
I would say like Terry and for me Terry, Shane, and Suri really carried the cast. So that's kind of what left it off.
And I enjoyed Terry. I enjoyed Terry, and I think I really enjoyed Siri. I don't think there's a time I haven't enjoyed Siri. But I enjoyed Terry better in his second appearance. I really just didn't like his high horse in the game.
Oh yeah, I know you. Yeah.
So like, it didn't. The cast in the season just doesn't do it for me personally.
What about Bruce Cattaguy?
I forgot about Bruce. How could you forget about that medevac? Yeah.
Oh god.
Or Danielle DiLorenzo and her big boobs? Oof.
All right.
We got thrown up the X. Oh no.
Well, don't forget about icons like Ruth Marie.
Misty Giles.
All right. Well,
Dan Fuego.
going into our number 17. This is the first season that all four of you put on your list.
Okay.
Michael had it at 13. Mammers had it at 18. James had it at 15. And Frank had it at 19. It is The Edge of Extinction.
Wow. I am done.
I'm glad Frank. I'm glad they gave it love because
Yeah.
it's worth it.
I'm stuck. I
Even if they
thought
don't like it.
I thought
Listen,
I was
the
As
thinking
cast
it
was good.
was.
The season was shit. The cast was good.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you'll at least acknowledge that the season is absolutely not shit by
It is
any
a
means.
gem.
And I'll argue that to death. It is a great rewatch and a great gem. But like
Trying to manage
this
to
cast,
be right.
like, all right, I'll say like there's really like every season there's a few duds. The returning choices were kind of random, but they all were like besides Joe, who's irrelevant every time. Like Aubrey got a big blindside, and then David and Kelly were both pretty big players on the season still.
Yeah.
But like I mean, when the first boot is as memorable as they are, and a lot of obviously it has to do with the edge.
come on,
but,
man.
like I think everyone being a part of this season with the edge
Yeah.
adds to like remembering people more on the cast and like knowing more about them.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of pushes it up a little bit, but I do think that they did a really good job with it.
I'm just not I'm not a big Edge of Extinction fan. I think it's a lot like back then before episodes were an hour and a half. I feel like it was just a big waste of time.
Listen, I don't love the Edge. I think the Edge and Redemption Island would be much better if it just ended at merge.
Yeah.
I think if it was a pre-merge thing and it ended, someone comes into merge and it ends, I think that all the seasons would be much better if that was the case.
I think literally every single person on this cast is memorable. Every single one. Like literally from
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Even like Wendy
Wendy, yeah.
and like
Wendy are damn chickens.
Yeah. Damn
Honestly, personally, for me, if they had just not done the returning players and did more newbies with how they nailed the newbies for this season, it might have been higher on my list because that they did not need those 4 returning players. They just didn't.
So what so this is a recent enough season where none of these people have had the opportunity to return. Would you guys like to see one of the good newbies from this season?
Yes,
like
War Dog,
Rick?
Victoria,
Victoria,
Lauren.
Lauren.
So I would say Rick,
Rick.
Victoria, Lauren, and War Dog, and even
The War
Ron
Dog.
Clark.
Oh my
Even
god, I
Ron
love
Clark.
the War Dog.
Ron Clark, yeah.
They're all, I would say, worthy of a return. All 5 of those people.
I'm good.
And
I don't need to see Rick Devens again.
I do.
I think he's a lock if they.
And I think
bring
Devin,
people-
if Devins wants to play again, that there's a very strong chance.
As long as they're pulling people before the new era. If it's just the new era, there's obviously he has no chance. But if they're pulling people from the new era, he's definitely getting a call.
Yeah, I would like to see either Rick or War Dog, and then either Victoria or Lauren.
Victoria has to be getting a call back.
I think Lauren or Victoria gets asked, one of them. I don't know which one, but I could see if they are pulling people from the 35 to 39 range. I could see.
I think I need to play so I can play with Victoria. Dreams can come true, guys.
All right, and I will say too, in a non-all returning game, I do think Reem Daly is the best first boot of all time. 1,000%. We'll defend that all day long.
Come on,
I would say that Natalie Anderson is the best first boot of all time.
No, I said a non-all returning game.
Oh, non-all returning game. No,
I
that's
still gotta go say night.
chicken. That's chicken. Sorry.
Damn.
Reem has the unfair advantage that she got to be on the entire season.
This is
why I
want to do.
think.
This is why at some point I want to do top 20 first boots, but we'll get into that later. But coming in at number 16, Michael had this at 14, Mammers at 16, Frank at 11, and James did not have this season.
Oh.
It is Corum.
What? How do you not have it?
You forget about it. It's okay.
No, it was close to being on. I think it was 22.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think this cast is one of the best newbie casts of all times,
Agreed.
and one of the best recommending seasons if you get like a friend that's never seen Survivor before. I think this is a great season to start somebody on.
Yeah, you have such a great characters this season.
Such
Yeah,
good characters.
Michelle, Aubrey, Sydney, Jason, Scott, Ty. I mean, you have a lot of just fun characters.
Debbie.
I'm not a Debbie fan.
Listen,
I'm not
Debbie.
a Debbie fan either, but
You gotta appreciate Debbie for what she is.
My favorite thing one of my favorite things Survivor's ever done is when she talks and they change her job on every time she talks.
So,
That is like, they just tickles me every time I rewatch one of these seasons and they do that. It's so funny.
it's something so small, but it's so funny because
funny.
they're just the whole American audience gets the joke, and she's just sitting there every
So
week and on.
I'll say, like, I had this at 22. Like, I was the only one that didn't have it on. For me, like, why I probably should have had it on is that this cast is just imbalanced. It is like very much like a lot of people on this cast could have won and like been okay with it, and there wasn't like there wasn't like one or two people that like everyone was rooting for and they were rooting for that person. Like I could see a lot of people rooting for a bunch of different people, but like what kept it off, I think for me, is that there wasn't like one standout player that I just like loved on this
That's
season.
fair.
So,
I
like,
get that.
and I think that's what kept it
I
off.
get that. I get that for sure. I don't think there's for me, there's not an iconic status person on the list. I know some people might consider Aubrey or Michelle or both of them, but I personally do not. I personally do not.
So this is like a season we'll talk about later, I think, but it was one of those where like I couldn't figure out who I was rooting for to win, but like there was a lot of people I would have been okay with them winning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, going into our number 15. James and Frank both had it at 14. This was not on Mammers' list. And Michael had this at number 9. Repeat, Michael had a new era season at number 9. It is Survivor 42.
I couldn't believe you didn't have this on your list. When you said that, Amanda, I was like, how did you forget 42?
Okay, listen.
I love 42.
I
It's
love
a cast of
42. I love 42 as well, but hold on, let me pull it up.
Like I truly don't think there's that many duds on this cast. Maybe like Roxroy.
Yeah.
There's not like and Romeo, like that's it.
Yeah.
Like
Even
so,
Romeo was good in the pre-merge.
Yeah, most of the people who went in the pre-merge were pretty memorable.
Mhm.
yeah. So like Daniel.
Yeah. Oh my
So,
Jack, Jenny.
This is like kind of speaks to what I was just saying about the last season. Like there's balance. Like there was maybe like 5 or 6 people that
I
like
love
were
Tori.
rooting for to win.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big Omer fan. Like I loved Mike. By the end of the
I,
game,
Drea,
by the
Jonathan.
end of the game, I loved Marianne. Like
Yeah,
Jonathan,
I literally would probably
Jonathan
put this
was
right underneath of 20, probably. Like I have the season pretty high in my rankings in general, and I do like this cast.
I think from top to bottom, this is the best cast they've done.
Was there
and-
2 medvacs this season?
One, just
one.
Jackson.
Just Jackson? Okay.
This
Yeah.
is by far the best cast of the
By
new
far.
year. It's not
Yeah.
even close.
Not
The
even
best
close.
casting they've done. for the
And
new
probably
year.
the best cast since like what? Edge? Besides Winners at War. You can't count Winners at War. I think it's
David
only
versus
the-
Goliath, I'd say.
Yeah, or
Yeah, I
David
agree
versus
with
Goliath.
Amanda.
Yeah. That's fair. Since David
I
versus
think for
Goliath.
me, I think for some reason when I went back and thought of this cast, well, the first thing I do is I think about the final 3 first. And I liked Marianne, but she's not my favorite winner. And then I loved Mike, and I hated Romeo. So I think I thought of that first, and I'm like, it's a decent, okay final 3. And then I thought of like Drea. I didn't like Drea at all. I'm not big on Omer after meeting him in person. I think I got some bias against this season because there's other characters on here that I absolutely love. Like you guys know, I love Tori. She's like one of my favorite Survivor players of all time. So I mean, like, I have some really,
Of
really
all time,
literally of all
I
time.
said of all time.
Yes,
I like Tori too. I do.
I love her. I just think she acts like me, so that's why I see me in her. So I like her. So I don't know. I think I should have it probably higher. I should probably have it on the list, but I probably wouldn't have it above 15.
You should have had this season instead of 44.
I like 44's cast a lot though too.
No, listen, like James just did not have Kalorang, so it can't bash you too much. So
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Does everybody have everything on the list from here on out? Is there still more?
Yep, that's what I was just gonna say. Mamers didn't have that past one, but now everybody has everything on the
Okay.
list. So, going into number 14, Michael had this at 19. Frank had it at 16. Mammers had it at 12, and James had it at 8. It is Tocantins.
Oh, this was so good.
I moved this around so much on my list.
Yeah,
So did I.
this was a little bit hard for me, but like with the 16-person cast, I have to take the percentages into account. And like, while I didn't like pretty much everyone that went just in the pre-merge was pretty forgettable. Like, you have Brendan and Coach and JT and Steven and Taj and Aaron
Tyson.
and Tyson and Sierra. Like, enough of it, the percentage of people were so memorable, and there was so much like friction and contentious behavior amongst them out there that like I could not have this insanely high. Like, and like I said, the 16-person cast, like you have to factor in the percentages with that.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's less nobodies because it was a 16-person cast.
Listen,
But
you have.
I'll just say, sorry, go ahead, Frank.
I was gonna say you have like legendary people in the Survivor, like Pantheons and you had Coach, like everyone knows who Coach is if you're a Survivor fan. Tyson, if you know who Tyson is, everybody knows who JT is, and because of Rob has a podcast, either you know Steven from that or you know him from Survivor.
Mhm.
So like those 4 alone boosted up to make it onto this list, not even including everybody else, in my opinion. Those 4 really upped the season, the cast as a whole.
But going back to what James had said about like percentages, like, oh, by default there can't be that many like duds because there's not that many people on the cast. Well, if you look at percentages, then like the more duds you have, it's going to be a higher percentage because there's less people there. And to me, everybody who went pre-merge or pre-jury was a dud. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and I acknowledge that. I was like,
And
yeah,
like
no,
when you think about it, it's 7 people who didn't make the jury phase and then 9 who did. That's almost half the cast right there.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like towards the bottom of my top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, I agree with what Frank says. There's a lot of legendary people who played, a lot of great characters who got very far in the game. But if we're looking at it as a whole, like almost more than half this cast was completely forgettable.
I think that Cook Islands is more memorable and a better cast than this season.
Not even close.
You really think so?
No, I think
the top of this
memorable.
season is better than the top of Cook Islands. And I think the bottoms are very similar, but Cook Islands has so many more. It does because there's so many people on the cast.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I think the in between people are better in that, like the in between legends and like duds on Tocantins are better than Cook Islands, which make this stand apart. Like the Aaron and Taj and Sierra and Brendan, like they're all pretty memorable, I would say. Like they're like in Cook Islands, it just drops from like straight legends to duds to me. Like it's to like at least in this, there's sort of a middle ground, and like I thought that middle ground was pretty strong, and then the upper half was strong. So like I had to like put this really high.
That's right. I think I had it in my top 10, and then I had it towards my bottom 20. I moved it all around because I struggled with it, but
It's hard to rank because it's 16.
Yeah, that I just think those 4 people, and then the people that made the merge, made it good enough to make it like towards my top 10 area. I think I had, you said 14. So like, you know, it's I think that's a proper rating for me.
Sorry,
Yeah.
16.
16. You know, 2 spots, not that big of a difference.
All right. Well, let's go into our number 13. Frank had this at 17. Michael had it at 16. James had it at 12. Mammers had it at 7. It is Philippines.
You're welcome.
Wow, I am shocked that Amanda's the highest on this.
Yeah. I am too, honestly. I thought this cast was really good.
Yeah, I did too. Like I said,
Great storytelling with all of them. I think that's why I like them so much. Is because production really did them a favor with editing this season.
Yeah, I think it's a solid cast. I think it's a lot of memorable characters, but there's also some not so memorable characters.
And the returnees were like all hungry for another chance to play, and were very motivated to go back out there because of the theme behind it and the reason for playing again. So I think with those 3, it does add to it for that, because we do very much remember Russell and Scoopin and
Denise, Malcolm.
No, but I'm talking
These
about
are just the returnees.
Scoopin and Penner and Russell. We remembered what they did on this season a lot because they were so hungry to play again. And then like I think like while there was a couple duds, I mean for the most part, the people who made the merge, like they nailed it with the newbies too.
Yeah, so I will never forget. To me, I know we had Liz freak out, but my favorite throwing a fit is Russell when they lose that last challenge in the story. He's like, God, why is this happening to me? This is not supposed to be happening. They are not better than us. They're just not. And it's just,
talk about a meltdown.
Oh,
I'm supposed to be excellent.
I'm supposed to be excellent. I'm the best. Look at me.
So good.
And the way that Matt Singh tried this meshed like was beautiful. Like, I mean, we have to talk like even the first boot of this season, like Zane Knight, like come on, like
oh god, yeah.
Like from the very beginning,
pre-mergers that were memorable and just like I don't know. And then you got like Abby Maria. I mean, believe me, there's duds too. Like Pete was a dud, Carter was a dud.
Pete wasn't a dud.
Pete wasn't. So I liked RC and Pete and even what was Artis. Like I didn't mind any of them. And I mean Abby was great. I thought Carter was really the only
Carter was the one dud who made the merge.
Carter it seemed like he had Play-Doh for brains. I'm not kidding. Like,
well, I mean, you think about it, like besides Penner and Jeff Kent, that whole Calabao tribe was kind of all boring.
Jeff Kent, his vote off and his little thing at the end, he's like, I'm so mad. He's like, for $1 million, I've made more money than that playing baseball. It's not even a whole $1 million. It's like $600,000 after taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
Because of freaking Obama.
Obama. I think it's a really good cast.
It's a really good cast. I wanted to have it
the
higher.
Top 10, I'm telling you, it's worth the top 10.
I had it originally like more towards the top 10. but like that was just bias. I see the faults, I see the duds in the cast, so I bumped it down.
Listen, Scoopin's on this cast for a long time. Okay,
But you know what? Scoop on that show was not bad to watch.
I just can't look past.
I can't either. Listen, I can't either. But on that season was not bad to watch. Was not bad television.
I mean, he gets his. If you don't like him still and you rewatch it, like he gets his comeuppance. Like he gets cocky and he doesn't win in the end. So like, while he's a big part of that season, he's ultimately not rewarded. So like, if you can't look past that, you could at least watch it knowing that that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's go to number 12. Mammers, you had this at 20. Michael had it at 12. Frank had it at 10. James had it at 9. It is Blood versus Water.
I should just turn my camera off.
I'm surprised Amanda had this on her list, to be honest.
This was hard to rank. It's almost hard for me to rank, honestly.
Yeah.
I was very much because, like, it's hard when it's a returnee Blood versus Water, and, like, some of these people were cast just to get their loved one. Like the casting pair was more for one person, so it makes the other person kind of like a total, like, flop by default. Like, kind of like with Laura and Rupert, and then, like, with
Cat.
it's just
Hayden.
it was hard for me to rank with that, but like for the most part, I look at it with returnee seasons, like who could they have asked and who did get asked and end up playing, and I think for the most part, like, yeah, they did a good job.
I mean, they put Colton on our team screen again, so that's a negative. But
That's what I said for the most part.
Luckily, that problem took care of itself very quickly.
that problem took care of itself very quickly. But I think the newbies we got were half of them were solid. I think like Brad
I'd say more
Culper,
than half.
more like at least half of them were solid. So, and then the returning players they brought back, I think the only one that I really didn't care to see was Rupert. I think I'm not a big Rupert guy, so and
Another problem that took care of itself.
yeah, it took care of this problem. Candace was her best on this season, entertainment wise. And like I said, I think the newbies were solid. I think the choices they had picked for returning players were all solid, at least entertaining in at least some way. Jervis was a complete asshole the whole time, which was fucking funny. Tyson was amazing the whole season.
Took the game seriously for the first time.
Yeah, I love Hayden. So Hayden being there was just juicy. So I think there is some duds there, but I think most of them are gone early on. So even Aris is so much better on this season than he was the whole season he was on his first time.
Mm-hmm. In his win, he's better as the merge boot than he is in his win. Aris is great this season.
Yeah, as a character and a player, he's better on the second time.
I think what Michael says kind of like really stands out too. Like, the problems took care of itself with the casting this season. Like we didn't really need to see Rupert or Candace again, but like they weren't really, and Colton, and they weren't really there. So I mean, yeah.
And like Colton's loved one, Caleb was really good. People
really
like John Cody. I thought he was like pretty good for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We got the Brad Culpepper.
Fuck you, Brad Culpepper.
Fuck you, Brad Culpepper.
Like Brad's a terrible player, but man, was he entertaining to watch this season.
Oh, entertaining! Yeah, I think this is a really solid cast.
I'm rewatching the season now. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, this is Sierra's best season easily. So,
but Amanda, you still acknowledge it's a pretty good cast, though, right? Even if you don't
I do acknowledge it's a good cast. I think that, but there's still some returners that I really don't like. If I like the returner, I don't like their family member, or if I like their family member, I don't like the returner. So it's like
that's why it was hard to rank.
And it's very few duos that I like where I like both of them. Like I like Tina and I liked her daughter. You know, I liked Jeremy, but his wife went early. You know, it's just like
that's the other season.
Oh yeah, that is the other season. That's right. It's just I don't know. I do feel like it's hard to rate. Let me pull up this cast again. I didn't like Vetus. I didn't like Laura at all. I didn't like her. I don't like her daughter either. And
You like
You like Sierra?
No, not really.
Wow.
She voted out her mom. Come on.
Believe me, I vote out my mom too. First boot, no question.
Amanda would be running the train to vote her mom.
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't even backstab her. I tell her, I'm voting you out first chance I get. What's she gonna do? Nothing.
I think all right, one thing I will say though, like you did say you like Tina and Katie, like
He was
I think Katie seems like a sweet girl, but like honestly, like she was one of those boring TV
Listen,
people.
I love
like,
Katie's.
and it almost made me like her because she was so boring. Like it was almost funny.
I thought it was so fun. I thought Katie was her approach to the game was so funny to me. She didn't give a fuck about that game, so she was willing to do whatever floated her boat. She was like,
that's why I like her.
Yeah, let's go to
she
Rocks.
went on the Rocks,
Fuck it, let's go to Rocks. I don't care. Let's tie vote in the pre-merge. Fuck it, I don't care. That's how she played.
I also would have liked it if Vetus and Aris wouldn't have gone back to back. And like, I don't know. I wish one of them would have made it significantly farther than the other, so they can like rub it in the other's face or something. I don't know.
Venus tried.
Yeah, I definitely tried, but I mean, how much can you brag about one place higher? Like, I don't know.
I mean, he was annoying. He
Then
was
Tina
so
came back.
bitter.
I don't know. It just this season is hard for me. I knew I had to include it in the top 20, but it almost didn't make my list.
It's hard to rank though with the half newbie, half returnee. Very hard to rank for these lists. Very hard.
All right. Well, coming in at number 11. James had it at 16. Mammers had it at 14. Frank had it at 13. And Michael had it at 8. I'm very, very bitter that this is so low. So I'm just going to put it up there. It's Micronesia.
Okay, but that pre-merge is bad.
Bad.
Yeah, I mean, this cast is carried by the returnees. That's my argument.
The newbies are awful. Most of them are awful.
Really bad.
But the returning choices were way better than the second time they tried to do this. And the newbies were still better, even though they weren't great. But like the returnees were fantastic this season. I had to put it on it, but like they could have done a better job with the
half
the
the cast were duds.
Like.
Legit, like there's only 2 newbies that were even worth something in that entire cast, and that's it. So like to me, that's why it just pulled down. I thought I was going to be the lowest on it, so I'm kind of shocked that I'm not. But I just thought the newbies were just so boring. None of them even stood out really.
No.
And that's really half the cast. So
you guys aren't Chet fans?
And I hit my head. I don't care.
I'm not a Joel fan either.
See, like this shows the difference between like best season and best cast. This is one of the best seasons of all time. The cast was very lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they nailed one half of the casting and flopped the other half.
Yeah,
because even our first like few boots from the returnees, like you had Fair Play basically asked to go, and then you have Yao-Man, and then you have Penner get medevaced, but like even they were good choices to be asked again. Like I don't think there was anyone they asked back for this season that like really wasn't worthy of being asked, and you cannot say that about the other time they did this at all.
Yeah,
at all.
I agree. The returnees were really good. I don't think there's a person I complain about. The only thing I complain about is I wish Fair Play actually played the game.
Yeah,
of course. I would have liked to have seen who they would have put on the cast if Fair Play had just said no.
Yeah,
which he should have done.
Because then he would have been able to play later.
Definitely.
He probably would have been Heroes vs. Villains.
Mm-hmm.
But they nailed the one half of the casting for me too much to like not have this on though, even with how bad the other half was.
Yeah,
the returning choices were like they could have butchered it and they didn't. They did a great job.
Well, I'm
Where
sure
did you
about
have this
that,
on-
but it's not about
Okay,
me.
Where did you have it on
Before
your
we
list?
before we move on to the next one, who are the couple newbies that you guys did like for this season? Like,
that you did like?
yeah,
That was Natalie and Eric.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
I liked Jason. I enjoyed
Jason
Jason.
was a loser.
The stick.
Yeah, I enjoyed him though. He's such an idiot. You have to love
Right?
him. I like Jason more than Eric. That's a hot take. But
I mean, to be honest, Eric wasn't really all that.
yeah, but at least he was
Who's
trying.
Who's the one that Keslin loves? I don't know if it's Hart. Tracy.
That's hard.
Tracy.
Tracy.
That's Hart who loves. Tracy Wolf Hughes, the Brant Steele legend.
Where
The
did
greatest
you
pre-merge player of all time.
where'd you rank this at then on yours, Heart?
3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
3.
See, and this is my.
I
fifth
love
pick.
every single person on this cast.
He's wearing some Micronesia shaded goggles there.
There's a reason why I am the tabulator and not actually counting my and this is why.
Andrew Hart, big Mikey B fan.
I love some Monkey B. Let's go. Well, y'all
All
can
right,
sit here and
guys,
make
we're
fun of,
halfway there. Halfway there.
y'all can sit here and make fun of me, but we're about to have a fight.
Oh
Uh-oh.
God.
Michael had this at number 20. Frank had it at 12. Mammers had it at 10. And James had it at 7. It is the Australian Outback.
Listen, it pained me so hard to put this on this list.
And
but
I
then
was
had
like,
to.
I was wondering where this is such an anti-Australian Outback podcast, but like I always will acknowledge like just how great the cast actually is, like because it's freaking fantastic.
Listen, I feel like a good number of the people in this cast were only memorable on this season. When you think of like Tina, Colby, Jerry, that's it. A lot of these people are kind of more memorable when they come back multiple times, which is great. But I looked at it as a standpoint of what was it the first time they played, and so it had to make my list. I put it at the bottom.
See, I thought Elizabeth and Roger were fairly memorable.
Okay, I forgot about Elizabeth.
Alicia. I mean, the only very random person on this, like the merge, I think, really is Nick Brown, and like for some reason, I like almost unironically liked Nick because he's so random that I liked him. Like
You have like
like
Nick, Alicia, Amber, Keith. These people are duds.
oh, Keith is a dud. Yeah, I forgot about him. But the pre-merge people are pretty memorable. You will say, like, I mean, Kel Gleason is an absolute legend, and then like with what happens with Scoops, like, and then with Varner, like you like that stuff is stuff you remember, like how they went out.
He killed a pig. He killed the pig, and then put the blood on his face
He
like
is
a
a
madman. I'm on record. I hate this season. It's one of my least favorite seasons of all time. Like bottom 5 easily.
Yeah, and it's
Well-
close to my bottom 5, but it's the best pre-All-Stars cast possibly.
Yeah, and I have to. I'm ranking the cast, not the season. So as a cast, I think it's a really solid cast. They have some legends on here, and I just it's when people talk about Survivor seasons and Survivor casts, like the early ons, they talk about this season. So I took that into consideration as well. It's a legendary cast, so I respect the legendary cast. But this season will not be on any top 20 list unless it's the worst seasons of all time ever again on my list. Putting that out there right now.
It's funny because I think I had this list. I had the season the highest, like out of, like when we did our seasons list, and I have the cast the lowest.
Yeah, really don't like the season, really love the cast. So like I think a lot of it is just Survivor was still trying to figure out the game. Like I think if you threw this cast to play around the time that China happened, I think that it would have been a freaking way better season. So I think a lot of it is just the elements and the like fact that it was still figuring out the game was why it was so boring and so bad. Not the cast.
All right. Going into number 9. So, Michael had it at 15. Mammers and James had it at 11. And Frank had it at 9. We had some icons like Rupert, Johnny Fairplay, and Scoutmaster Lillian Morris. It is Pearl Owens.
Skinny Ryan? I mean,
Skinny Ryan.
no love for Skinny Ryan. Die jerks? Come on. Where did I have this again? Where did we all... Can you run that through again?
Yeah.
Where everyone had it?
Michael had it at 15. Mammers and James had it at 11. And Frank had it at 9.
I'm shocked I'm the highest on this one. I thought I might have been.
Yes.
It's a really good cast. I think these ones coming up, there's gonna be less debate on them because like we all have them on our list.
Mhm.
It's about placement. I don't disagree with your guys' placements. I just personally think this is, you have some legends on this cast and some solid people around them. So to me,
Yes,
I
the
guess
legend Andrew Savage.
Yeah, I think this is one of them, too, where, like, obviously you have Fairplay and Sandra and Rupert are the 3 of the 16 that really stand out. So that's almost a third of the cast right there. But I think, like, the middle people, like the Lils and the Burtons and the
Yara was good.
Krista and Dara, like, I think they were, like, yeah, like, they were, like, pretty, like, while they weren't asked to play again, like, they were solid players and, like, pretty memorable. Like, they weren't total duds. And, like, there wasn't, the real total duds were gone really early in this game. And, like, with the Outcast twist, like, they didn't get the chance to come back in. Like, the people who went out early, who got kind of robbed of, like, being good characters on the season were Burton and Lil, and they got to come back in. So I guess, like, yeah, there wasn't too many duds.
All right. Please don't call her Lil. It's Scoutmaster Lillian Morris. Like, we need the
Okay.
Thank you.
I think something great about this season too is like you have your dynamic characters and they're all dynamic and not the same way. You know, you have Rupert the hero, you have Johnny Fairplay the villain, you have Sandra the sneaky, just laid back player. I just think that you get a little bit of everything, which makes.
And then you got like Burton's the strong dude, and then like Dara's the southern like pretty girl. Like yeah, exactly. Like they such like there's just people from like they say now like there's not people from all different walks of life anymore.
And we
like,
loved
and that
Savage
was-
back then. Like those.
I never loved Savage.
I didn't love. I don't like. I think
Savage
Savage is such a douchebag, but he brings something to the season.
Yeah.
He does.
Like,
I even like
like,
Ryan.
I enjoy rooting against Savage. Like
I have one
Yeah.
question for you guys. John, did you vote for me?
Yes.
I was literally going to search for the video.
hey,
Ooh,
yeah, Mr. Macho, Mr. Savage. Right when he's voting for Fairplay's voting confessionals that season were top tier. Top tier.
A lot of stuff that season that Fairplay did was top tier.
I would love to see Fair Play again, but we know that will never happen.
No.
No, actually, they're on better terms now with Johnny Fairplay than what they used to be.
But to play again,
I don't think he'll ever play again. He has a better chance of playing Australian Outback or Australian Outback, Australian Survivor than he does.
Have you seen his merch he sells since he's done his podcast? Like, I don't think there's any way that CBS is.
No.
Wait, did you watch House of Villains? I forget.
Yes.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. Fair Play was a little bitch on it though. He cried a lot.
Oh.
Yeah. But other than that, it was good.
uh,
I thought it was fun. It was a fun 10 episodes. So that's all it needed.
Okay.
well, we are not ranking the House of Villains characters tonight. We're ranking the best cast tonight. Let's go into our number 8. And I will say the top 8 were kind of like in a little category of their own. Everybody else was really low. And it was much with the math, these were much higher, all these 8.
Okay.
So going in at number 8, James is the lowest at 13. Frank had it at 7, Mammers at 6, and Michael at 5. Well, let me ask you guys, are you a millennial or a Gen X?
James, how do you not have this in your top 10?
I mean, like, you guys know I am not as high on this season as you guys, and like, it's just like, it's a lot like what I've said about a lot of these where we had just ranked in the last tier. Like, I think there's a few real big standouts, and then there's a group of solid people, and then there's a group of people that
What,
like,
Will
either
doesn't do it for
purple-
you?
No, I like Will. I think he's in the group of solid characters for me, at least. Like, I don't think he was terrible casting for an 18-year-old.
No.
At least he tried to do stuff out there.
I
Failed miserably, but
yeah, I love this cast. I just do. David,
Yeah.
Adam. I even like Hannah. I like you have Michaela, you have Jay, you have Zeke, you have a lot of people that I think there's only like 2 people who are like, to me, they're like duds and they're gone early.
I loved from top to bottom that entire Millennials tribe.
No,
Like,
I like the
you had a couple
millennial-
duds on Gen X, but like you just said, Frank, they were gone very quickly.
Yeah, none of them made it
Yeah.
even to swap.
The cast
Oh,
was
Legend.
so deep from top to bottom, just great characters, great players. It's just so good. I love this
It's
season.
so good.
So good.
I imagine the alternate universe where Paul Watcher ran the
I'm dead.
Gen X song. He was trying.
What about
He
the
tried.
alternate universe where Paul Watcher actually had a heart attack on day 5?
Oh my
So
god.
that would have been wild.
Did he
Yeah.
fake that?
He didn't fake it. He had something
He
else
didn't
wrong
fake
with
it.
him.
It just wasn't
Yeah.
actually a heart attack. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, this is it's a big cast because I think it is 20 players,
He was
right?
20, yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, we have a big jury, and most of the people that made it, I mean, I think there's only a couple real randoms in there, and like it's like maybe Chris and Jessica who gets rocked out. It's
Oh,
sort of random.
I liked Chris and Jessica.
I like Jess. I
Yeah,
feel like
I mean,
Jessica should
even
be
there,
able to
like,
play back again.
I said they're more of the people who wouldn't be. Seems like they wouldn't be asked back. Jessica maybe asked because she's kind of in the RHAP like side of things. She's very involved in the community, and then Chris did play the Amazing Race. So like there is, yeah, like I think CBS itself is very high on these people too. So like there's a lot of pull from this season.
I'm really shook that there's only 2 people of color in a 20-person cast.
Is there? I didn't.
Michaela and Cece, that's it.
This is such a great moment. What? I
Oh.
know we're not ranking notes, but that's just.
God, Jay, that was such a bad move.
Did you vote for me?
David's story was so good this season. So good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's go to number 7.
No, Hart had enough of Millennials versus Gen X.
Where'd you put where'd you put it, Hart?
8. So like kind of around the same area y'all did.
Okay.
All right. Well, this next season, Michael had it at 10, Mammers at 9, Frank at 6, and James had it all the way up at 4. Well, let me ask you this question, guys. Are you a David or a Goliath?
Wow, you guys had it so
4?
low. 10?
4. All right, so I guess I'll go
Yeah.
start here real quick because I had it at 4, and I'll just give a spoiler because we don't have that many seasons left. This is maybe like 7th or 8th on my like actual season rankings, but this was my highest newbie cast like for this list, like for the cast list. Like this was my highest rated newbie cast, and I think a big reason for that is that like the person who won most people do not like the person who won or think they played like a great game by any means, and that doesn't really like tank the season for anyone. Like people still love the season and are still so high on it, and it's like there was so many people to root for on this season. Like it was so deep from top to bottom. Like even some of the pre-mergers we had, like Pat, who gets medevac the first episode, and then Natalie, can I have your jacket? But even the pre-merge characters are memorable. Like we have a huge jury and a huge merge, and like literally, like I think every single one of them were memorable as well. Like there was just it did not matter who won this season. Like everybody was there to root for it, and it was such a breath of fresh air. I know we said Millennials versus Gen X and Co-Wrong had good cast, but like the casting around these seasons was especially the 2 seasons before was not good at all. So like it was a nice breath of fresh air, and I think the cast really carries this season. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have Christian, you have Gabby, you have Davey, you have Mike White, you have John. There's a lot of people on this cast that really enjoyed Carl. I even enjoyed Alec.
Angelina.
Angelina, my queen.
Horrible.
Davy's here.
I love this season. I love the cast. So I think I had 7, 6.
Frank, you had it at 6.
Yeah. So I just love it.
I think this is a big, like, when you talk about like a returnee season. People always go and immediately say like, well, there's so many people that we could pull from David Goliath versus Goliath, because there really is. Like, I think Christian and Angelina would probably be on the top of their list, but and Davey's probably right there too. Those are probably my top 3, but I think there's a lot of people that could ask again. And I think, like I said,
talk about the mayor of Slamtown, okay?
John had to
I mentioned him.
John got robbed.
Oh,
John, and how about we talk about how gracefully he went out? I just like, to me, how much respect he had for the move. Like, would just happen. Most people be so pissed. Like when you have like Savage when he gets idled out as such a baby, and then like with how the mayor of Slamtown handled that with such grace, just speaks volumes for him as a person.
dude, I love watching him.
I love him. I love him.
I would not be mad if he came back for a returning season. Please bring him back for a second chances.
And like Frank said, I even love Alec. Like, there's even random.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
You guys know about that.
Yeah, I think it's a like there's not a person that I really just like could not stand on this cast.
There were some duds, but
there's nobody that was like irritating me though to be on my screen. Like a Banu. We didn't have no fucking
no.
Banus.
Well, you had Angelina. That's close.
Angelina's great. Amazing.
Awful.
Amazing.
All right. Well, going into number 6. Pretty even across the board. Frank had it at 8. Michael and James had it at 6. And Mammers had it at 5. We have Survivor China.
Oh, I love this season so much.
Such a good cast.
Great cast. I mean,
I think this is the best newbie cast of all time.
I have a third best movie.
I think I had it 3rd as well, I believe.
I mean, there's no arguing.
There is one above it. That's obvious.
We all have it as the top 3 newbie cast. Like, it is a smaller cast, but like we do get a lot of legends for the first time. But like, it's not just top heavy. Like the middle ground people, like the PGs and the Jamies and the Erics, the Frosties. Like they're all memorable in their own way. John Robert.
John Robert.
Don't forget Lunch Lady Denise.
Oh, Lunch Lady Denise. Who lied about getting fired.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And this is also, like, it's one of those seasons where, like, when you see how they interact with each other out there, you could just tell how good of a job they did casting this season, because like, there's so much contention. Like, there's just... it's a mess. Like, these people don't like each other, like, necessarily.
I mean,
like,
it's a game for $1 million. You shouldn't like each other,
right?
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect starting. Like, say if someone wants to start a season, and they don't want to quite start with old school Survivor. If you're going in order, I think China is the perfect place to start because it's not completely new school, but it's not completely out of old school either. It's like the
I think Amanda
perfect,
said that for a while.
yeah, it's
It's
like
with China.
it's like, because like Pearl Islands is really good, but it is old school Survivor. Like some, Amazon is really good, but it's old school Survivor.
Yeah, like this, we still have the hidden immunity idols.
Correct.
And stuff. Like,
You
Just-
can see the strategy and the different shifts that are happening in the game.
there's one caveat for me recommending this season first, and it's that the non-Survivor people are more reluctant to watch a season that's not HD, and this was when it wasn't HD yet. So I usually recommend that they watch one of the HD seasons.
Like
first.
Token Chains?
That's not Kagayan. Yeah, so I usually go David vs. Goliath.
Here's my thing though, is like the newbie seasons that are in HD, the only ones that you can really watch before you start getting to the dud area of Survivor, the early 20s, is like Gabon and Tocantins and Samoa. I mean, that's it really. After fans versus favorites, that's after HD. That doesn't get into the 20s.
I think those are all good starting seasons though. So
really?
Yeah, I do.
I think Tocantins, I wouldn't say Gabon. There's not really much good gameplay in Gabon for me to recommend that. And Samoa is so Russell dominated. I don't really want to start somebody with that either.
Yeah, no, Tocantins is definitely the best
I think Gabon is its own animal, so
I definitely don't put Gabon or Samoa on if you're going to watch Survivor and just watch the key seasons. Those are not seasons I include.
I feel Samoa has to be on there to watch before you watch Heroes vs. Villains.
agreed.
Yeah.
You have to know who Russell is going into Heroes vs. Villains.
I agree.
I'll tell you what, that would be a fun season or a fun podcast to do. Is you only get to pick 15 seasons to cover the story of Survivor.
Ooh. Okay,
That'd be hard.
We'll put that in the
We'll
back.
talk about it later, yeah.
Everyone's like, "Woo!" Their brains are already moving.
I will say though, I like to describe Gabon as like the VH1 reality show version of Survivor.
Oh yeah, with 46 is its baby.
Yes. All right. Well, top 5, everyone. Top 5.
Top 5, baby.
If 46 isn't on here, I'm gonna be shocked.
I love that,
right.
James. Top 5, baby.
Top 5, baby.
Well, James has it at 10, Michael at 7, Mammers at 4, and Frank at 3. We have Survivor All Stars.
Wow, me, the All Stars guy, had this below it.
Frank?
Listen, they did a really great job of casting
And they
some of the
did,
best
yeah.
players
They did.
up to that point that memorable. This isn't the best season. This is best cast. And for an all-star cast, they almost knocked out of the park.
I'm with Frank on that. That was literally my thought process while ranking these seasons. Was All Stars like not the greatest season, but was a literally 10 out of 10 knock out of the park.
You had Tina, Rich, Boston Rob, Lex, Ethan, Tom. Like you had the hitters, the heavy hitters
Of each season.
of the early seasons.
Yeah,
So,
and then you had Alicia, you had Amber, you had Jenna, you had some duds from the first time they played, and they were kind of duds again.
But Jenna was a winner.
Jenna was not a dud. How was Jenna a dud? How was Jenna?
I could go a whole podcast of why Jenna's a dud.
All right, you said Jenna Lewis was far from a dud and all.
Or not her.
No, Michael said Jenna.
I said Jenna from the first time was a dud.
No, but she was great this time.
Yeah.
So my thing is like I think that this season the people they didn't ask, the people that may have seemed like they didn't deserve to be asked, really proved themselves. Like Amber, I know she shouldn't have won, but she won. And then like I think Sheehan and Alicia made it far, and then Jenna really like delivered, and like Rob didn't make it far the first time and completely dominated this season. Like I think that like people who were questionably to get asked ended up running the season, and that tanks the season ranking overall for some people, but it also adds to those people's legacies along with the people who played great the first time who went earlier in this season. So I think that's part of the reason that this gets ranked so high, and that's why we have it up here. And like I am surprised that I have it the lowest because I'm by far the highest one on All Stars out of all.
Who do you think they missed, Michael? Do you think they missed on anybody to make it onto this cast?
Sean Rector should have been there.
Okay, I give you that.
Brian Heidel.
Ryan
I
Heineck
I
in there.
really do think
Ryan
that they
Hyatt.
squeezed Rupert in there. They should have squeezed Johnny Fairplay in there.
Yep.
I agree.
So I'm gonna say one more from Pearl Islands.
I think there should have been somebody else in the Amazon too.
Well, they tried to get Heidi should have been
I think
there.
I think Alex
Heidi
or
would
Dina
be a
should have
good
been there.
one.
Alex.
I think Dara.
I think Alex or Heidi would have been good from Amazon, and then I think Heidick out of the winners. I think Heidick had to at least have possibly.
I honestly would have liked to seen John Carroll on this season too, or T-Bird.
Yeah, Sean Rector is the biggest snub though, no question about that.
Sean Rector was the giant whiff.
Okay. But overall, I think they did a really fantastic job.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we did not need to see Rudy again.
No.
But like
Michael.
we didn't need to, but like he deserved it.
Yeah.
He was from the first season. Like you gotta put him on there. He was
Every
everyone's favorite.
even all-star cast need a first boot.
So yeah, like I have this at 10 and I have it as like 15 in my season ranking, so it's not that different for that. But like you guys have this way higher than you actually have it ranked as a season. But so it is a great cast. Like
But
I
they
think
did.
I'm the second highest ranked after you, James, with all-stars. Because I don't hate it that
Cool.
much either.
Yeah, you don't hate Michael and Frank.
You two like it way better than me and Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just imagine how much better, higher the season would have been if Lex wasn't a complete moron.
I know.
All right. Well, going to number 4. Mammers, you had this season at number 8. Frank had it at 4, and then Michael and James had it at 3. It is my very first season, Cambodia.
8?
I think the reason why I have it so low is because there were some people on there that nobody wanted on there, and they took over the spots that other people should have had. And I think All Stars was a better cast, and Heroes versus Villains was a better cast. So
I
agree with you on Heroes vs. Villains, but
I look at my rankings. I think I agree with you too.
yeah,
So I highly debated having this at 2 and the one I had at 2 at 3, and they all are returnee seasons, my top 3. But what put it at 3 instead of 2 for me is that like there's part of me that believes the voting thing wasn't real and that
It wasn't real. There's
I
no
don't know
way it
how-
was real.
I don't think it was
I don't
real
know how
either.
Shane Powers
conspiracy
does
theory.
not get picked and how
I've gone over this conspiracy theory a couple times.
Joe gets picked like blows my mind how Shane Powers was not picked and how Monica Padilla is picked over T-Bird. Like, give me a break. That's what soured me, but like it still is ranked 3rd for me. Like for the most part, like this is for me it's like it's such a good idea for a theme for a
Yeah,
cast.
remember though that
Letting-
Monica was
letting
literally
a bunch of people
Go
that
ahead.
didn't play, people that played one time, that didn't win, so hungry for a win another time, and like they did do such a good job of like pulling from recent seasons and then pulling from some of the middle era seasons and then going way back to the real old school with like Jeff Varner and Kelly Wigglesworth. Like that, those were some people you never thought you were going to see play again. So like, I mean, for that alone, like that's why it is still so high for me. Like they did do a good job of with how it was themed. Like I think it was really hard to screw this up.
Yeah, I mean, you had Jeremy, Tasha, Spencer, Cass,
Sierra.
Kelly. I mean, Kelly really was an unknown entity, but you had like these old school players, like you said, like in Savage. And stuff.
Savage. And,
Yeah, Abby
Fishback.
Maria, Fishback. Oh, Fishback is such a good get. Like, there's so many good gets they got for this.
I'm actually
season.
really surprised that Steven wanted to play again.
Yeah, he really wanted to play again. Well, he was supposed to be on Cambodia.
This is
Not Cambodia. Karamoan.
Yeah. And Steven had a rough time out there.
I'm really happy he didn't get on that season. He came back for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been such a waste of returnee spot if he had come back
Really?
for Caramoan.
Steven had a rough time out there this time too. Like
He did, but I liked his story arc from the from.
so did I. I was glad he was able to play again.
Let me soak this in.
And marinate in this. And then he gets voted out.
But like
where this season goes for me is kind of like I didn't have the nostalgia of like All Stars and then like only like half of Heroes versus Villains I really had like some nostalgia for. By this point, I had seen every single season a couple times, so I was so like the nostalgia was so there for me on this season. I guess that's just why it's higher. I loved the cast top to bottom. There's a couple duds there, but
I was gonna say, I'm like,
But like, so
I wasn't a fan of Shireen, Monica, Wu.
I understand why
everybody else
Wu.
actually
I
really
understand why Wu got picked though. I
oh,
understand.
100%. Yeah, they cast a
Wu
lot
should
of
have been the
people
one to
that
get dropped for Shane.
they cast. Some of the people they cast who weren't as great, like they had the story that really fit the theme, like Wu and Wigglesworth, like,
Yeah.
and then Varner with jumping off for the peanut butter, like, and like I did really like I said, they really went deep into the weeds for the old school with this, and like I liked how at this point of Survivor, at season 31 in 2015 or whenever it was, they were still trying to dig back into their roots and find people from like the OG seasons. I thought that was cool.
We got Terry. We didn't talk about Terry. Terry was there. Terry Deeds.
Oh, I mean, I really wish we
God,
actually got to do
heartbroken
it.
when he had to go.
Yeah. So, I like I said, I wasn't a big fan of Terry the first season I watched him, but this season I really enjoyed him.
I've always liked Terry.
Same.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen how the season shakes out if Terry didn't have to leave.
Oh, it would have been so.
Terry was literally like the ultimate hero. Like, I can't believe he wasn't on Heroes versus Villains.
Well, because
He was in debate. He was in debate.
He was kind of a cock in this first season. That's why.
Well, look at the spot they put him in. He was at the bottom of it. No matter what, he had to win everything.
Yeah.
But
No
I mean,
choice.
but like he just the way he handled it wasn't smart either. But
Frank doesn't like Terry. He would just move on.
No, I mean no, like the way Terry went out in Cambodia was awful.
Where did you have Cambodia, Hart?
Where did I have Cambodia?
Mhm.
I actually had it at 14. And I had, for similar reasons that
What is
Mammers
going to
had.
be? Yeah.
Similar reasons that Mammers had, though. I think the fact.
Nope.
Oh.
Bye.
Oh, what happened?
Don't know how that happened. The fact that Monica was there over T-Bird, awful.
Awful.
Like Wu being there, Wu or Joe being there over Shane, awful.
You knew why Joe was there. Joe just
Joe
the
was
previous
when
season.
a
He was the
lot.
most
I mean, let's be real. Why was
the
Kelly
most
there?
popular person from the previous season. You knew he was going to be
Kelly
there.
Wigglesworth or
Yeah,
Wentworth?
no, Kelly Wentworth. Why was Kelly Wentworth there?
Because she was fantastic on that season. Do not say
She
that.
was
She hates
on
Kelly
that
Wentworth.
season,
Why
but
was she
why was she
there?
picked in the first place?
She deserved. She got screwed over.
She campaigned really hard to get on.
Yeah,
I
she
think
did.
that's-
Yeah. Well, I'm probably guessing that Monica got on because of baseball fans, correct?
Yeah. And the only reason Kimmy Kattenberg got on was because of
What
gays for
would
Kimmy.
baseball fans have to do with Monica?
Isn't she married to Brad Culpepper?
That's
No,
Monica Culpepper.
He's a
Monica
football
Brad
player,
Culpepper's a
and
football
yeah,
player.
not the same person. Or
Wrong Monica, and Brad played football.
I thought Brad played baseball.
no.
And Brad was on contention to get on the season, and he didn't get on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
That's what I'm thinking of. My bad.
when he was sitting next to Joe and Spencer, he's like, "There's no chance I'm getting."
Yeah, Jeff really comes up like, yeah, there's two spots
What
left.
am I thinking of
Brad's sitting between Joe and Spencer. He's like, well, good luck, boys.
There was the whole campaign though for like everyone's like, why is Kimmy Kattenberg getting on? Because there was a whole campaign of gays for Kimmy, and I was the greatest thing ever.
That's
Yeah, the whole campaign, gays for Kimmy, and that's how Kimmy Kattenberg got on the cast.
I hate
I
him.
did not think she was going to get on.
No, I didn't think she was gonna get on either, but I mean,
I was all for
I
the.
gotta support gays for Kimmy, of course, but
I was very
Okay,
all
listen,
for
this
the
Monica
very
is really
old
just as forgettable. Who the fuck is this? No, I'm dead
A no-
serious. Like, who the fuck is this?
school. And nobody from Samoa.
She was one of the people who played on Samoa. You don't remember because it was all dominated by Russell.
Yeah, and then she cried a lot in Blood versus Water.
Bruh, gun to head, someone would have been like, name this survivor, I would die.
well, on that note, on our number 3, James and Frank had this at number 5, Michael at 4, and Mammers at 3. It is the highest newbie season, Cagayan.
Not
Can
surprised.
we all just bow to this season? How
Yeah, I mean it's it's my number one season, but I didn't have it number one on here because like there's it's nitpicking, but like I will say a little top heavy. That's my only complaint. A little bit top heavy.
Slightly, but I feel like there are a couple duds here. Not many, but there are, and we like being so close to the top. You do have to nitpick.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's the top two are the two probably the biggest legendary casts of all time. So like
Yeah.
realistically, like I think my top 4 or 5 were all returning seasons. I think I had Heroes vs Villains, Winners at War, All Stars, and Cambodia as my top 4.
Yeah, my
Because,
top 3 were all returnees, but
like,
this was
Yeah, same. My top 3.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
had Cambodia number 3, I believe.
so I love this season. I love this cast. Like you had Wu the Weasel, you had Tony and his Toniness. You had Spencer. Spencer was so fantastic. Fantastic casting. You
Chaos
had Chaos. That whole Brain Tribe was just fantastic. There's not a dud on that Brain Tribe at all.
Oh, the Brain Tribe is one of the most entertaining tribes of all time, if not possibly the most entertaining tribe ever.
Such a shit
from
show.
an episode standpoint,
Wow.
just such a shit show. My only little nitpick with this is that so after Sarah goes, she wasn't great this season, but she still did bring a lot because of the position she was in and what she did. That stretch sort of from Morgan to LJ, Jeffra, Jeremiah, those 4 were kind of boring to me, and that's what put it below David vs. Goliath. I thought David vs. Goliath, middle merge people, were a little bit more interesting. And like I said, this is a little top heavy. But I mean, when you have Tony and Cass and Spencer and Trish and Tasha, I mean, it's gonna be one of the top seasons. So
Even Bryce on there was great, and I wish he would have been there for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I agree. I think this Final 6 might be the best Final 6 in the history of Survivor.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But-
Oh, I don't know, man. Heroes versus Villains is really pushing it too.
No, this is way better than Heroes vs. Villains. This Final 6.
I agree with Michael there. I think
Yeah.
the final 6 on Heroes vs.
I
Villains.
think it's better in this season.
This one did not.
Like I said, this is my favorite season of all time, but I said it's not. It's like my 5th favorite cast because of the reason I just explained. I said that stretch of the middle merge, or they're all kind of just mad to me.
On paper, you'd expect Trish's archetype to be a dud character. Trish is so underrated.
So
she's great. Trish is great
as a player and a character.
Yep.
and
Agreed.
Tasha is great too. Trish and Tasha are so underrated because everyone remembers how good and how entertaining Tony and Spencer and Cass were.
Even
And they
Sarah.
forget about that. And then even Sarah
was
with
on this season.
the next times. Yeah.
Sarah was on this season.
I know she's on the season. I said she wasn't good this season.
Oh, I didn't say she was good. I said she was entertaining. Her being upset about Tony was great.
Yeah.
And it really started that story of them later. I just wish I want to see one of them play without the other. That would be nice.
I mean, we essentially saw Sarah play without Tony.
Yeah, essentially.
All right.
I think we all can't gush enough about Cagayan. Real quick before we move on, Hart. Would you guys ever start a new Survivor fan on this season?
I did. I started my friend on Cagayan.
I wouldn't because it doesn't get any better than that. So I want them. Yeah, I want them to experience a very good, but not the best it has to offer. If that makes any sense.
See, I got him. The way I got him hooked was I wanted to get him into Survivor. So I'm like, all right, let me just show him Cagayan. Then he'll want to see. Oh, bye, Frank. He'll want to see Cambodia after that. So I'm like, I'll get him into it now. I'll make him have to watch every single season before that, so he can watch Cambodia, and he's hooked.
I did the same with my old coworker. I started him on China, and then I had him watch Cook Islands. And then I think he was ready for something a little bit more at that point. I think he was like, okay, I get the gist of the game, how it works and everything. So I took him straight to fans versus favorites because over half of the favorites in that game were from those 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if you like any of the other favorites that you haven't seen yet, then you can go back and watch their season. But if not, then let's go ahead and start you on another great newbie season of another generation that you might like.
So I will say though, I've been arguing that Survivor 50 should be second chances too. If that's the case, does Trish deserve a spot on Survivor 50?
Yes.
Yes, if she is on their radar and wants to play, absolutely.
I don't think she's ever been on their radar, which is shocking to me.
Here's my thing, and don't hate me for this, okay?
No.
Realistically, Survivor 50 is going to be 16 players, which means 8 women and 8 men.
Why
And-
16?
Because they've done 18 players.
Yeah.
18 players, realistically, okay? Which means it's going to be 9 women and 9 men. Do you really think that Trish is a top 9 returning female to return for Survivor 50? I don't think so.
No, but I think she should be on their radar.
Absolutely.
Maybe an alternate.
Should be more worthy of a spot on game.
Also, you have to account that 4 of those women are going to be women of color. So top 4 or 5 women that are white or another race to be on.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about
Trish.
Yeah, I don't see her.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
I don't think she'll
I
get
don't
on,
think
but I just wanted to ask that while Frank was occupied.
Yeah.
But okay. So going into our number 2, I will say though, the top 2 everybody had as either their number 1 or their number 2. But clocking into number 2, everybody had this at number 2 except for James, who had it as number 1. It is Heroes versus Villains.
It's fantastic cast. There's nothing to say
Yeah.
more than that.
single dud.
So
Nope. Like, I mean, is there anything to really nitpick? Sugar, maybe,
Candace.
or
Stephanie.
Candace.
Candace is the one that stands out to me. Anytime Candace is casted, it stands out.
Candace
to me.
is Sugar to me. I think they could have found 2 other heroes to put on
So
there instead of them. Besides
only-
that, perfect cast.
So the only thing, like, and even with the people who you can say maybe they shouldn't have been casted, it was more just like they may have been on the wrong tribe, like Stephanie and Candace and
Rob.
Sugar. They have just been on the wrong tribe. Like,
Yeah, Sugar was not a hero.
No, Candace
That's
was
it.
Neither was Rob.
Rob was not
wasn't
the
a
hero.
I was on the
Rob
villain.
is not a hero. He's a villain. I think he's a villain player.
Okay, Rob
Not on the villain side.
Oh, he wasn't. Wait, no, he wasn't. Yes, he was. I think he was.
He was.
He was.
Yeah.
Why is that- I guess I'm thinking about whenever he was like dipping out. I don't know why. I
Well,
thought
Rob kind of turned into more like in Redemption Island. He tried to play more like, and in this game, even being on the villains tribe, he tried to play more like the hero type of role. So like, I could see how you were thinking that, but no, he was on the villains tribe though. But like,
It's
it's
almost
an amazing
a perfect cast. So
yeah.
like to me,
Is
it's
there anyone
just
you guys think that they missed?
oh yeah, they
Any
missed
alternative.
Fair Play.
Yeah.
I think Fair Play being on there over who would you take off? I'm trying to think.
Coach.
Not Coach. I think Coach
Randy,
earned a
Randy,
spot.
probably.
Yeah,
Your
Randy.
Your options are Rob, Russell, Coach, Tyson, or Randy.
I would have taken
Yeah.
Randy off.
Okay.
And Randy's still a great villain, even though he
Yes.
he's so worthy.
I just don't. I don't think he was the caliber of player or character to be on the cast. Over
No, he just wasn't good. Like, he wasn't on par with, like, he fit the mold of villain, but he just wasn't on par of the player with them and couldn't keep up
No,
because of that.
no.
But like, if they wanted to, like, they could have called this season Heroes versus Villains and like casted heroes and villains, but like they casted heroes and villains. Like they didn't fuck around with the casting. Like they went to the top of the Survivor barrel and pulled right from it, and they got the people that they wanted to say yes. And that's what happens when it
was their big milestone season.
Mhm.
They wanted to make sure they got everybody they wanted because they didn't want to put on a dud season.
Mm-hmm. It's just it's fantastic. Like there's a few people that you could replace and put on someone else, but other than that, it's like that's like 2 or 3 people.
I would
Yeah,
have loved to have seen Natalie on the Villains tribe.
Natalie Bolton over Double D. That's my opinion.
But the only reason they didn't do that is because they already had Parvati, they had Suri, they had Amanda. They didn't want all 4 from there.
I know.
Yeah.
And while I had like the reason I had this first and the other one second is because I think like the other one didn't have as many people to choose from, obviously, but like with Winners at War, like I do think that there was people that got asked that shouldn't have been. So like this season, I think there's a little bit less of that. So that's why it was like splitting hairs, but that's why I put this one in that too.
Wait, was that what you guys had at 1? I had Caramel at 1.
Well, I haven't gone over what 1 is yet. We can do that now.
Yeah.
Well, James had this at number 2, and everyone else had this at number 1. Had some icons like Jan Gentry, Penny Ramsey. No, y'all know what it is.
Zayn Knight.
It's Winners at War.
It's Winners at War. It's
James,
like
I'm surprised. I think this is number 1 out of default.
And I almost did that, but like I said, if Richard Hatch and Tina were there instead of let me think, like Michelle and Nick or Ben.
Yeah, Nick.
Amber.
Yeah, like if Earl is there instead of Ben or Nick, say Earl and Hatch replace Ben and Nick, and then Tina replaces like Michelle or something.
my only gripe is
Tina replaced Amber.
Absolute perfect casting.
my only gripe for this cast is that there should have been an even split of old school and new school.
And that's why it's number 2 and not number 1 for
That's
me.
my
But I
only
think-
gripe to it. It's not even it's not a player balance. It's just like Richard Hatch should have been on this cast. They should have sucked it up and put him on the cast. He should have been on the cast.
If what had happened in 39 didn't happen beforehand, Richard Hatch would have been on the
Yep.
cast.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were just being extremely careful, and I totally get it.
I get it too. And Tina
Yep.
should have been on the cast. The first
Yeah,
female
that
winner.
was a joke that they didn't cast her.
I disagree. I think
She's
we've
the
seen-
first female winner.
I know, but I think that we've seen enough of Tina by this point. She's already played 3 times.
And we haven't seen enough of Boston Rob.
Exactly.
Like,
Rob's played 5 times.
I feel like Rob has more camera presence though than Tina does.
Disagree.
Tina's
I
just
would
not.
have
fun to
much
watch.
rather seen Tina than Rob.
I don't think Tina's fun to watch.
So and to be fair, Tina really only played 2 times. All Star, she
Yeah.
had no shot.
yeah.
I mean,
No.
she played Australian Outback. She played All Stars. She already played another returning season in Blood versus Water. Like, we're gonna have her for Winners at War 2.
Yeah, but for Winners at War, you
First
throw
female
out
winner,
how many
she
times
should be.
people have played.
She should have got an automatic spot.
Yeah.
I just think for Winners at War, you throw out how many times people have played, and you get the best people you possibly
Yep.
could. And like, there was a couple things they didn't like. There was a couple where they had to just pull from recent winners and get all of them to play. But like for the most part, though, this is still number 1 for all you guys and number 2 for me because they
It's a
did
milestone.
get the insane heavy hitters still, and like they had to get enough people to say yes for the season to even happen. So
That's
like,
exactly my thing. They still needed enough winners to actually want to play.
Yes.
And
And
like before you even knew this was the theme, how many of these people on this cast did you honestly think you would ever actually see again on Survivor?
there's no chance you thought Ethan, Parvati,
Ethan,
Foster,
Parvati, Rob, Amber,
No.
Yule,
Yule,
Tyson,
Sophie.
Sandra, Soph, Kim.
Denise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't like
That
there
was
was
a big one.
they got a lot like it's not a perfect cast. They could have but they got a
It's
lot
close,
of the
though.
heavy hitters.
It's close.
It's close. Like they got Tony, they got Kim, they got Rob, they got Parvati, they got Sandra, the best of the best to ever win. They got majority of them.
So
I would have loved to have seen this season as complete open casting. If you won, you're invited to this season and see how many people actually went out there and played, and then you adjust and go from there.
So
Yeah.
all 39 winners.
Well, it would have been 38 at that point because they wouldn't have known who won
39.
39.
Oh yeah, fair.
So, this seat when the cast got dropped for this season, it was like, it was when I was like rewatching a bunch of seasons and like first like super fanning out for Survivor, and I remember seeing this cast drop for the first time and being like, yeah, like they got the heavy hitters that I want to see for the most
Yeah.
part. Like like there was a couple things you could nitpick. Like I said, not having Hatch and Tina there, but I'm like, they had Yule, they had Hartley, they had Tony, they had Rob, like they had Kim, like yeah, they had the heavy hitters that most people wanted to see, mixed with a couple of like the old schooler like Ethan and Danny's a personal favorite of mine because I love Guatemala, which yeah, so there was people I didn't think I would see again that were on there, and I just remember my initial reaction to seeing the cast for the first time being very positive.
It was the Survivor Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It was. That's what Tony said when he's on the boat on the way in.
Yeah.
How I felt like because this season was airing during COVID. How would you have felt like this was the last season of Survivor? Would you have felt satisfied with it? This is how it ended.
If they would have taken out the stupid fire tokens and maybe Edge, I would have loved it. But I think those two things hurt it more than helped it. So I felt a little disappointed because it was a little disappointing not being able to see them just play. Have to worry about Edge and fire tokens and stupid shit like that.
I get it. Like those, I remember we did our season ranking. That was what like kept it like almost out of the top 10 for me.
Yeah, and it should be easy locked in top 5 season.
But it's
production got in the way of doing that, and it was COVID time. Why the hell aren't these episodes an hour and a half long? Or you could have put 2-hour episodes for these, and people would have watched.
This is the season I would have wanted 2-hour episodes for.
Yeah,
2 episodes.
Yeah.
If you
That's what I
really
really
want to spend
thought.
time on the edge, do like a half hour on the edge, and then give me 90 minutes of just the gameplay.
Yes. But
You know how much better the season would have been if they did that?
so much better. I don't think like so. Even though like we have our gripes with like the cast, like I think if Rich and Tina were there, even though I really like Earl and Todd, I think it would have been almost a perfect cast that way because you would have got the first female and first winner of all time, seeing them play with somebody who just won it at 37. So it's like it would have been such a crazy dynamic that way. But I understand why Rich wasn't brought on because the whole thing from All Stars. But I just feel like for a season like this, it would have made the season feel a little more like grand. Like this is closing a book.
I'm really kind of surprised that Cochran wasn't on there. That was another shock.
He can't. It
Yeah,
worked.
like they asked him.
They asked him. He told him no.
Got you.
I think he worked on a show with CBS, and by default, that made him ineligible to be there.
No, from what I read, they asked him to play, and he said no.
I think he was getting his PhD at the time, correct?
I have no idea.
But all the winners though who did not participate go to Rob has a website. There's a Brant deal called Winners at Peace. With all the winners who did not participate in Winners at War.
Yeah,
That's funny.
and they had Sandra on there, and they had Rupert.
They had
I
Rupert
don't
won America's
get the
favorite.
Rupert thing, but
Well, because Rupert won America's favorite, he won $1 million.
Yeah.
that'd
They
be
want-
Rupert did what Banu set out to do. He won 1 million hearts.
1 million hearts.
Won 1 million hearts.
And that won him $1 million.
Ooh.
Like I said, I think the first like 8 or 9 of these were just simple mark. And even I knew Token Cheese was going to be on my list. I knew there's some that were going to be on my
like
list,
the
but
top 8 were literally in a category of their own. Like
Yeah.
for sure the first
There's
8
a lot of separation.
were
A
just
lot of these seasons, I felt like were just easy. Like we knew you were gonna be on the list. It was just like where are they actually gonna be on? The
correct.
list?
All right, so let me bring something up before we go here. Do you guys want to say what you would have in your bottom 5?
I was gonna say the same thing.
Because I have my list. I could pull it up.
I'd have to think about it, but I know Thailand's on that list.
All right.
43 is on that list for me.
No.
So my bottom 5 is Thailand is last, then Redemption Island,
yeah,
One World, Fiji, and then Nicaragua. Those are the bottom 5. So like my bottom 5 cast are very much on par with like the bottom seasons. So like an absolutely like awful cast is gonna make I think like an absolutely
Man,
God
how do you
awful.
disagree? Mamers was shaking her head. How does she disagree with that?
Oh, because she loves One World.
I definitely don't think One World has one of the worst casts of all time.
Yeah, it does.
No.
Everyone outside of Kim, they're all duds.
Kim and also the Kim and Troy.
If I'm getting the bottom 5 casts based on whatever I say, I guess.
Ghost Island's down there too.
Ghost Island.
Yeah.
Big out
I'm
Dom,
going
Wendell, and
to
Michael,
say
that
that Karen
cast.
Moen is down there with me.
Caramoan's down there. Yeah, that was down there. for
Really
me,
bottom
too.
5 for me. Redemption Island, Thailand.
South Pacific.
South Pacific.
That was down there. 41 was down there.
See, I don't think
43
41's
is
cast is
down
that
there.
awful.
Oh, all right. So one that's down there for me, I think I have it. I'm looking right now. I have it at 35, but I have the season way higher. Is Samoa, because I think like while I'm not like the biggest like that season's just carried by like the story of what's going on with Russell. So even if you don't love Russell, like it's interesting what's going on. But like most of the cast are just duds, like duds for Samoa.
Worlds Apart is down
Guatemala.
Bad cast, yeah. See, Guatemala, as much as I love it, it was 21 on my list. I was like, I couldn't include it.
I
Like,
thought for sure that was going to be on your list. I'm not gonna
everyone
lie.
probably did think that.
there. Well,
yeah.
to be fair, I also thought Vanuatu would be on Amanda's list, and I was wrong. So
I took it off.
Because that cast is dog shit.
But it's not the best 20.
No, I thought
Fiji's cast is dog shit too when you think about it. Outside of
honestly,
Yeah,
if you take off Rob, that the cast from the Amazon's not that great either.
no.
oh no, it's not, and that's why Amazon's my 4th ranked season. Not on this list for me
Wow.
because
Where was it on your cast list? I would assume somewhere in the 30s.
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
Oh, on mine. Oh no, it was higher than that. I'm too high on that. 26. 26.
Close.
Yeah. And like I think there are some underrated people, but there's just
Stop the recording at this point.
way too many forgettable ones.
I think 46 should be down there too.
Nope, that was like in the 20s for me somewhere.
We're talking about we had Q, so great, Goat,
Be nice. I forgot about Be Nice.
Carly.
You had Banu. Come on.
Bonu just ruined
He
it all.
won $1 million hearts.
Oh.
He won
Did he?
1 heart. He won 1 heart. One
Is
heart.
that
Who's that?
or the acting company that hired him to go out there?
Listen.
Okay.
If
Hey, actor.
Jeff Probst ever cast this man again, I quit the show. I quit
What
watching.
if Banu's on season 50? Will you
I'm
guys
watching.
wake up watching?
It'll be turned off. I won't even watch it.
I won't watch it.
Hart's already said if Bonu's on 50, he's not watching.
No. Jeff. No.
I love that you think Jeff Probst watched this show.
No, Jeff.
No, Jeff. Listen.
I'm gonna-
He watches our top 20 list all the time. Let's be real.
I think he learned his lesson.
If Jeff Probst watches our podcast, then he's heard me talk a lot of shit about him.
I'm gonna tweet that. Jeff, no.
Jeff makes $12 gajillion. He doesn't care about us.
All right, let me end this real quick before we can ramble on if you want afterwards. But yeah, we'll come up with another list shortly. I'm not sure what we're gonna do next. We haven't discussed it, but let us know. I think we got the top 8 pretty correctly, but
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
let us know if we missed one that you think should be in the top 8. Who had the hottest take for their top 20? Let us know that. It had to be Hart and his, Marquesas.
Literally,
right?
that's what I was about to say. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
But
That's the first thing he
We
had
gotta-
44.
We have to put a poll. We have to put a poll out on the page to say like, was the podcast right or was the tabulator right?
List too.
yeah.
First top
Alright.
side, so I'm gonna go.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.